Happy Wednesday, y'all, and happy new camera day. For those of you that celebrate, this camera we're talking about is the Sony FX2. And LG, you obviously are somebody who has, I would say, more experience with Sony cameras than anyone that I know. I've gotten into Sony cameras because of you, and we pretty much have some questions about this thing, but it's giving us gas in the way that new camera releases always do.
Of course, and gas is a thing. Not that kind of gas. Gear acquisition syndrome, I believe it's called. And yeah, Sony came from left field with this one here, apparently. I mean, there were leaks about it, but this is a strange thing. I don't really know why this camera is here. Why are we here talking about this today? Why did they make this thing?
I think Sony realizes that this is a weird camera culture where they have to come out with cameras every 6 to 8 months. And this is like a weird little stopgap that they threw together while they actually, figure out the FX9 Mark II, the FX3 Mark II, etc. Because those cameras basically are looking a little long in the tooth after what Lumix did with their releases of the S1R2, the S12, and to a lesser extent the S5, or it's the S12E, which is basically an S5 just souped up. So it's
so is this a we had to put something out camera?
Pretty much, yeah.
So why not put something out that somebody would want?
I think there are people that are going to want it. That's.
I mean, I want it.
Yeah.
But I don't. I would if I was looking for a camera today, I wouldn't go for this one. But I want it just to try it out. I mean, I don't.
I just hate to lay negative vibes on people. I feel like this is a camera that Sony put out because they just need to consistently put out cameras. But
this
what
is
about
an
it
old
is,
sensor. Okay, so this is basically an A7 IV in an FX body. So it's not going to have the limitations on video that the A7 IV had as far as overheating and stuff. And they added a viewfinder, which bravo. I mean, I'm
I like the viewfinder a lot. Yeah, golf clap.
I returned my FX3, or I sold it because it didn't have a viewfinder, and I got A7S3 back because it has an amazing viewfinder. And this one actually tilts, which, I don't know, it could be hit or miss because it's going to block whatever you have in the... If you have anything in the hot shoe, right there, you're not going to be able to use the tilt, which is the only limitation there. So it's going to act like an A7 IV with the fan at that point. If you have anything in that shoe, it's basically an A7 IV with the fan. That's
not a detachable EV finder either,
no,
is it?
It's not.
It kind of reminds me of the detachable ones that Sigma made, and no one really bought those Sigma cameras.
Sony used to have some cameras back in the day. What's up, Greg? Greg in the chat.
What's up, Greg?
Yeah, good day to you, Greg. It's a good day to be a cinematographer, I guess. If you're a Sony fan, here's a camera. You can shoot photos with it. You can shoot video with it. It does 4K. It does not do 4K 120. It does 4K 60 in a 35 millimeter crop, Super 35 crop, which is a little disappointing.
At a $2,600, $2,700 after tax price tag, is that what we're looking at?
Yes.
Granted, in Texas we don't pay tax on these things.
No,
if you're smart.
And if you're in Texas and you don't know about that, please Google Texas tax-free sales tax exemptions on broadcast equipment and audio gear, and you will save yourself a lot of money. That's another. We should go into that on a show.
That should just be like a generic clickbait YouTube thing. Don't pay sales tax.
You shouldn't pay sales tax for anything that you're going to be recording stuff with, audio or video wise. Anyway, so $2,700 for this, and then I believe if you get the handle with it, it's $3,100. I want to say $3,099. So, and it's the same handle from the other FX cameras, the FX30 and the FX3, which is still it's questionable as well. It's been known to break the XLR box on top. It's been known to be fragile.
So let's basically think that this is nowhere in terms of as versatile as a camera as the now pushing, what, 3, 4, 5 years old FX3?
Yeah, I believe the FX3 is almost 3 years old. The A7S3 is a lot older than that, probably 5 years now.
Yeah, that's right.
But the FX3 is still a better camera, in my opinion.
It is.
I just, this camera, oh, look, they added double holes on the bottom.
Okay.
That's awesome.
You like that.
Manufacturers take note. Panasonic did this a while back on their GH cameras, but I wish that all manufacturers would do this because it prevents the dreaded, like when it gets loose on the tripod and it turns sideways. This prevents it. You got, I like redundancy. It's like having two SD card slots.
That's fair. Yeah, and I always have a cage, so that would just make the cage a little more sturdy as well, I suppose.
I need to speak to you about your cage too, because your cage is not sturdy and it's missing a screw. That's why it's not sturdy. But anyway, on your FX30.
Yeah. Well,
I'll speak after the show.
Well, yeah.
Scold you about it.
That's
here's with XLR handle. Sorry.
Yeah.
$30.99. Yeah, and it looks like the same damn thing. The same handle.
This camera is essentially a competitor to the it's the Lumix S12E, right? Because they both don't have 4K 120. They both are a crop APS-C in 4K 60, and I would assume they're basically around the same price point. If I have my, guess the price is right, memorized right there. Seems to have similar features, both shoot photography. So in a weird way, this is Sony's way of saying we're only going to release one camera that's matching the Lumix the low-level line. They probably had this ready to go. It has a 7K sensor that obviously they downscale that to 4K. So
yes.
It's upsampled 4K, which is nice.
Here's the other thing. It's a new generation of FX handheld. The mirrorless small FX camera, not the FX9 or FX6, but the smaller FX series, the Alpha series, I should say. And you're not giving us open gate. You got a 7K sensor. You're giving us 4K only. And then you get raw output, but the raw output is limited to Super 35.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. In this camera?
Yeah, in this camera.
Wow.
Yeah. So it puzzles me. It really does puzzle me. And this, although, oversampling down to 4K from 7K is going to make for a beautiful, beautiful picture. Really beautiful picture. But it's a 7K sensor. Why can't we get an open gate?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you bring that up because we're both, or I don't know what you're filming on. I'm filming on an FX30, which is a 6K sensor downsampled to 4K, and we're outputting at 1080, but I assume it's still using the full, range of the sensor. Mm-hmm. I've always thought that just looks phenomenal. In fact, I would almost say if you're trying to get something along the lines of almost strictly, because there's only still shots available on the FX30, like just a strictly video camera, I find the FX30 runs great all day. I've had it connected to a charger while recording internally at 4K, and it was just running for hours straight, and it was fine.
Well, here's the thing. Well, if you're going, you don't have a camera, do you go for this over the FX30?
If you don't have a camera and you're jumping right into the cinema line,
I think I might go for this over the FX30 because it's a full frame camera.
Yes, well, that's what you're paying the extra. Yeah. I guess it's close to $1,000 for.
Yeah,
yeah, the extra size on the sensor. Because this is the FX2 is probably a tremendous Super 35 camera, as you mentioned.
It does have the crop mode, which it forces you to use on RAW and 4K 60. But it does on the oversampling you mentioned. It does use the full sensor. It is a full pixel readout of the entire sensor here, according to Sony. So
on APS-C mode.
On APS-C mode, no. It's the middle.
Okay.
See, you can see right there. Okay. S35, it's the middle. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but in full frame, it's a full pixel readout, which is nice. It's going to make beautiful, beautiful video, and it's also a photo camera, and Sony's been pumping that too.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the one not really regret because I'm not much of a photographer. I mostly use all my cameras for the most part in live shooting situations. So the FX30s, the majority of their runtime has just been either in here's the studio camera or out on the field for sports broadcast live streams.
And they're perfect for studio. I
yeah.
mean, people argue about, oh, it's Super 35. You're not going to have good low light. They say that about Micro Four Thirds too. But if you're in a studio, you control the light.
Yeah.
You can add light.
Yeah.
It's easy. So now that this is an A7 IV in an FX body. So with that, it gets all the bells and whistles of the other FX cameras. It gets the XLR handle. It gets log shooting modes. It gets shutter angle. It gets custom LUTs, which the A7 IV doesn't have any of that stuff. And it gets a fan, so it's not going to overheat, which the A7 IV is notorious for overheating.
Oh, yeah.
And I've actually had that happen. When shooting 4K 24, it overheated on me.
Mm-hmm. I don't really like the non-FX line for using long shoots Sony cameras. The
only one I trust is the A7S III, and I swear by that camera. I've had it forever. I've had 2 of them, actually, and they've never overheated on me. So
the Sony A7S line is very interesting to me because didn't they wait, I don't know, like 7 years between the A7S II and
I think it was like 6. Yeah. It was a while.
It felt like it was overdue, in almost the same way that the GH5 to the GH6 jump felt like it was overdue.
It was leaps and bounds ahead of the A7S II, though. So they almost used it to debut their newer features, because it's the camera that debuted the new autofocus system, which could lock onto your eye. It's the first camera to debut the S-Cinetone color profile, and that was all the A7S III. So they've been known to use that camera as the generation stepper, I guess you should say, the one that introduces the newest features to the next generation. But I have a feeling like this FX2 might be that, acting as that for the FX line, for the small FX line.
I guess in the sense of the EV, I think that's, something that, honestly, it kind of always made sense to me that the EV would be a part of the FX30 and 3 because of the FX9 and 6 having the monitor.
That's why I got the A7S III, because it has it has one of these things. Right here, you can see your dang video.
And you explained to me, because I thought that the FX6 had that come standard, but I guess when I think back to it, the FX6 is like the spiritual successor to the FS5. The FS5 didn't have those standards either.
6 doesn't have it. This is for the FX9, but it'll fit on the FX6. But you have to get a little adapter for the hinge so it doesn't flop over. But this actually just arrived today, by the way. What a coincidence. Freaking viewfinder. Listen, camera manufacturers, we like the viewfinder. Give us the option. Thank you, Sony, for bringing it back on a FX body, because if you do release an FX3 with a viewfinder, I might be interested.
I think I've asked you this question, though. You have an FX9, you have the A7S III. What would it actually take for you to upgrade to a newer camera? Because even though we talk about the 7K sensor, you're not allowed to actually shoot 7K.
Not without external recorders.
Yeah, is that... can it do 7K with external recorders?
It can do 5... the FX2 can do like 5.5K with an external recorder, but it's limited to Super 35.
Yeah, that's. I guess that is what it is. That's at least that's a nice feature. There's nothing. There's Sony. I guess they stand on the fact that they just had a jump start on the industry, because you see FX30s everywhere or FX3s everywhere. Sony cameras in general just are flooded the market to the point where they know that you've invested so much in just the lens ecostructure that you're probably, if you're in need of buying that camera. The FX2 can't be your first camera unless you're just like some really well-to-do company looking to invest in video, right? Like the actual individual, I can't say this is the camera that the FX2 you should jump into if you have $5,000 to drop on a camera, right? If you have $5,000 to drop on gear, I don't know if this is, I almost say you wait until the next Sony cameras to come out. I don't know. Because if it's your first camera, you also have to buy the lens.
That's what I'm saying. It's this camera is a quagmire. Like, why is it here? I don't understand. It's got all the same features as the FX. Here's another thing I don't understand. Why does Sony limit us to these 2 D-squeeze features? There's so many other D-squeeze ratios that we need for anamorphic lenses, and it limits us to these 2. Why can't we just make it dial up on our own?
Yeah.
Why can't it be custom?
That's
like
interesting.
Blackmagic does. Like, this is stupid. This is ridiculous. Like, I want 1.6. What if I'm using a 1.6? I got to use an external monitor now. Even though, looking at the monitor on the FX2 with an anamorphic lens, it's going to make it like real tiny, but still give us the option, please.
No, that makes sense.
Sony is very, very questionable, and they've got competition, which is why I don't understand why they didn't make certain changes and introduce. This was the perfect opportunity to say, "Hey, we're listening," and they showed us that they're not listening. Like, nobody wants this sensor either. The rolling shutter is horrible.
That's probably the other
annoyed.
thing. That, like, it's the FX2, but the FX3 was such a great readout sensor. Like, that you could use it for sports, and I constantly see the FX3 used in sports videography. But the rolling shutter in fast pace is just not going to look good. And
No.
that's the other thing. Is there like maybe I don't even think that Sony would ever think about that, like a fast readout mode where you're still. You can't be using the entirety of the 7K sensor, but can you still like have the access to the full frame part of it?
Yeah.
If that makes
know,
sense.
Maybe limit it to a certain frame rate or something. I don't know, because it just takes extra processing power, and I don't know if they added that, but they did add the AI autofocus chip, which I have in the Z200, which I'm using to film myself right now, which is amazing. I was shooting some ducks, like going through some branches, like full zoom, and it just like it's stuck on the ducks and didn't once like hit the branches in the front. It was so that AI chip is no joke. So that's an improvement there. I'm not sure. I don't think the did the A7 IV have it?
I would almost say
Maybe the A7 IV did have it.
Now that you bring it up, I would almost say that the Z200, if you had $5,000 to drop on a camera and you don't have anything to start with, that's almost a better investment, because if you're dropping $2,600 on this camera, the other half of that needs to be allotted to full frame glass, right? Like,
but you buy a Z200, you can't use any other glass, so.
No, that's true, but it really looks
and
good.
if you need photos, you can't take photos. So
that's true
it's
too.
really it's a cameraman's camera. It's a producer camera. It's a camera for events and videography. It's nothing like the cinema line. It's definitely not a cinema camera, even though it has all the cinema functions of one.
Yeah, I would almost say it's worth looking at your needs if you're talking about a first camera, because this is a great on a tripod camera, the FX2.
Yeah,
but
I mean it'd be a good B cam. Look at that anamorphic. Looks nice. Look at those long freaking lens flares.
Got to practice a lot to get that shot, but yes. Well, I honestly have always been interested in getting. I have a GH7, so the anamorphic micro four thirds line is something that I've always been interested in.
Well, see, yeah, and Panasonic gives you the options to de-squeeze all sorts of different styles, all sorts of different ratios. So it's crazy. And another thing Sony's pumping that I saw on their little, that leaked picture I sent you, the little brochure picture. It says we have Venice style UI. Here's the Venice style UI.
Oh, just so you can glance at it and see your settings.
Come on, man. Like, Venice actually has a dedicated screen for this, so it's different. Theirs is actually on the side of the camera, and it's dedicated for just this. We have to switch to this, so you can't see, but I guess you do have your EVF.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's cool. They could easily update the older FX cameras with this in a heartbeat. And give me this on my FX9 and my FX6 too.
That's pretty standard on a GH6 and GH7. Like, you can just hit the like that. That's part of the display buttons.
The GH4 had this.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Like, come on, it's a status display. I think the FX9 and the 6 have a version of this, but you have to kind of like flip through pages. It's not as intuitive.
So one of the things I've been meaning to ask you if you've ever even messed with, because if nothing else, you've had access to my FX30s for personal use, and I know they can do this. I don't know if your other cameras can. 16-bit output over HDMI. Have you ever messed with that?
No, and I have no
16-bit.
need for it. But those who do, yeah, they can do that. The FX2 can do that. So
Yeah.
have fun with it. If you need 16-bit, all the FX cameras, I believe, can do that over HDMI.
Okay, so I was wondering if the FX6 could do that.
I believe it can.
I bet it could.
I think it can.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I believe the FX9 can do it, but you have to have the expensive V-mount back thing on it.
Yeah, the expansion.
It's like an It's like the Nintendo 64 graphic expansion pack that you like popped into the front.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know. I don't know this about the N64.
There were certain games that you needed this thing. Like the N64 had this. You could pull out the chip and put like an expansion chip in there, and increase the graphics.
I didn't know it did that. I guess that's just something that I learned about 64-bit technology. We have not needed that since the turn of the century.
Yeah.
And now 64-bit upscale looks just fine. So anyway,
of course, here's the main reason you get into the Sony ecosystem. Right
the
here.
lenses are phenomenal.
Right here. And this is just Sony's lenses. Sigma, Tamron, Suri's now in it, or Suri, or Sururi, or however you say that. You got DZO is making E-mount now. There's so many different E-mount manufacturers now, and Canon doesn't let anyone make their mirrorless lenses. So
yeah, which could end up being their downfall, because people like to be able to just have unique or options lenses. Because look at that. Well, you don't. Talk about gas. That's probably $1 million. That's not $1 million in a photo, but
I wonder if you add it. I'd say it's close. It's probably 500,000. It's got to be $500,000 right there.
That's a lot of lenses. That I would almost venture to guess that one that towers above all of the others is probably in the 10,000 range, whatever that is. G Master. That's
probably like the 8 or the 1200. That's probably the 1200 Prime.
Yeah.
That's a beast.
I imagine that those are all very expensive.
Beast. Yeah, that one's probably like I would guess like $30,000. Yeah, that'd be a fun thing, like to put a picture up like this and be like, guess the price, like counting like a bean jar.
Yeah.
You know, like who can like Price is Right.
We got to get invited to these things that people get invited to. Like Panasonic had their S12 launch in Austin. We live in San Antonio. That is a easy trip for Lumix to give us a camera to mess around with.
Well, that's why we're doing these shows right here. So hopefully they'll invite us
support,
next time.
follow, all that kind of fun stuff. I did want to wrap up the show by asking you a question. How long have we gone, by the way? Do you have a little timer there?
23.
Okay, perfect. Because really, let's wrap up the FX2, and then I'll move on to the other fun topics.
All right.
So FX2.
Fun topics.
Yeah, FX2 you find used for 2100 like
FX3.
No, the FX2. What if you find the FX2 used for 2100 randomly? Any real interest?
It's a good pickup, man. I'm not gonna knock that sensor, and the rolling shutter is there, but 99% of people out there probably don't notice that. You know, honestly. And if you're shooting corporate stuff, talking heads,
it's on a tripod or gimbal.
This is perfect.
Yeah,
this is great. If you're interviews, this is a great interview camera. You get that; it's gonna look really, really sharp. Really sharp.
So I guess on that point is, if you had $2,700 to buy a camera, why would this be it? Why, or would you have an alternative? I guess the lenses are the number one thing. Basically, you're getting into the E-mount ecosystem, if you will, which I agree.
I would honestly, I would look for a used A7S III.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth. I still think it's the best camera out there. It beats all the FX cameras, including the new FX2. Doesn't beat the FX6. Doesn't beat the FX9, obviously, because those are a different class. But it beats the 3, it beats the 30, and it beats the 2, in my opinion. The 2, if they would have just slapped this body on an FX3, then that might be the new champion, in my opinion. because I'm a video-centric guy that needs photos every now and then. And I don't mind 12 megapixel photos because usually it's just going up on the web. So a camera with this body right here of the FX2, but with the FX3's guts, it's got Sony guts. Yeah, I'd buy it. I'd sell my A7S III and buy that.
And the quick look on a Google search for a used Sony A7S III is $2,500 and $2,700. So that's
comparable.
That's roughly right. And then I think that overall you're talking about just the advancement in the autofocus technology. That's probably the big separating factor between the two of them. But and then the more megapixels, like you mentioned as well.
Well, here's the thing. Also, you look at the price of the FX3. I don't think they sell the FX3 without the handle. So you have to buy the handle.
Oh, I'm not 100% sure about that because I occasionally look at the FX3, but that's...
Yeah, they don't sell it without the handle. The 30 is the only one they sell without the handle, and now the 2. So, and that handle's a piece of junk. Like, I would not use that handle. You're better off getting the the Sony XLR KLM3 or whatever it's called that's not attached to it. It's the same little box, but it's not attached to the handle. So you can use it on all Sony cameras. You don't have to use it on just like this. I could attach it to the Z200 right here and get 4 XLR inputs. I could attach it to my FX6. The handle here you can only use on FX2, 30, and 3. And that's it. There's a small rig adapter to where you can use it on the A7 IV and the A7S III. But who knows how long they're going to continue making that if it's not even already discontinued, you know?
And didn't they basically have to backtrack and say, don't really use this handle as a handle? Like the
handle's awful.
Yeah,
like,
it will break.
The handle's not a good thing at all. Get the if you need an XLR breakout box like that, get the XLR KLM3 for that. That's an accessory. It's expensive, but it comes with the microphone. And Small Rig has a cage that can help protect it as well if you're worried about it not being as sturdy as the handle is.
And I'm just checking out like on B&H, the FX3. I don't see the handle in any of the pictures, so that might be why I'm a little...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it comes with it, like just by default.
And then for an extra, what is this... $1,100, you can get the 24 to 50 millimeter f2.8. That's funny. That's cool. Okay, yeah. So that kind of wraps it up. I think that the FX2 is an interesting camera. I almost feel like it's Sony having to put something out because Lumix strikes with the 3 cameras that they put out. The new S1R2, the S12, and the S12E. This is very comparable to the S12E, and I imagine it'll still be popular, but I would, if you're not in a hurry to upgrade a camera, certainly nothing here that would make you speed up that process.
And I would wait, too, because this may be a preview of what's coming from Sony.
Yeah.
There may be an FX30 Mark II, FX3 Mark II coming out with the body similar to this. I could actually see them releasing this body maybe a little bit bigger, possibly with internal ND filters. Canon just did that. Sony might be trying to catch up. We'll see.
And you know, Sony, they have the best electronic ND filter on the FX6, FX9, introduced on like the A7 or FS5 Mark II, or maybe it was the original. But either way, the electronic ND filters that were on the kind of more expensive, next up above the FX3 line, those are amazing. If they made this camera, the FX2, and charged $1,000 more to have the ND filter built in there, I would almost say that would be a separating factor that would make you consider paying more money for that camera than the FX3. But
you got to give me a better sensor, and then I'll buy it.
Okay, fair enough.
I can't have that old ass sensor with the rolling shutter. I can't have it punching in on 4K 60. I need 4K 60 wide, and I need 4K 120 as well. Don't limit me to 1080 120.
Okay,
it's 2025, Sony. Come on, catch up. Catch up.
I agree. That in the full frame 4K 60. I think that everybody that's releasing a camera right now should do their best not to have that. But that's what I said. The Lumix S1 2E, that's this price point, same thing. It's APS-C 4K 60 crop, and that's just the processing power that will eventually be standard, which is already available on the FX3 for full frame 4K 60. And there's like, what, a 1.1 crop on 4K 120?
Yeah, it's slight. Yeah, it's very, very slight.
The FX3 was just so far ahead of its time. No wonder it took over. And I guess to the certain extent, the A7S3 was so far ahead of its time.
But dude, it does 1080 240. It's ridiculous. It looks decent too. It's a little soft, but it works, and it does crop in a little bit more. But it looks decent. I've shot some things in 240.
So to result, the hard pass. We're waiting for the next Sony cameras.
I'm sorry, Sony, but here's what you get. This is one of those.
Gas has passed.
Yeah,
we no longer have it.
It's nice to see the future, though, a little hint of what they have up their sleeves.
It's cool, and this camera will be purchased. You will see people buying it, and
it's going to fly off the shelves. Yeah, trust me.
Good for those people. Yeah. They're just not going to be you or me.
The A7 IV flew off the shelves. This one's going to fly off the shelves for the more video-centric. The same audience that are buying A7 IVs that have a more leaning in more towards video are going to be steered. This is perfect for them.
Yeah, that's
who they made this for.
This is definitely a solid camera, and you can't really go wrong with any camera that you're dropping more than $1,500 on these days, which, I would say the bare minimum of $1,500 range. If you really want full frame, go Lumix S9, but that has similar, overheating issues. It's more meant to be kind of like a full frame travel camera.
Yeah, or just buy A7S III.
Well, that's pretty expensive. New A7S3 is still $3,500. That's my one thing with Sony is they don't actually drop prices, they also don't discontinue cameras. Like the A7 III is still purchasable new. So
it's still a capable camera. If you're just shooting photos, you don't need anything more. Honestly, unless you're shooting like high-fast sports, like high-speed sports. A7 III is perfect. It's a great photo camera.
Yeah.
Video is limited, though.
And the funny thing is, in this social media era, even though there's kind of limited video, it'll still look good because it's a full-frame camera,
Yep.
So what's giving you gas? You actually kind of already got a jump start on this.
What's giving me gas?
Yeah, you got the FX6 hood.
Oh, yeah. So I gotta buy. Shape makes an adapter for the hinge, so I can put this on my FX6 and be like, ooh, you shouldn't do that into a light.
Oh, that's not smart.
Note that, yeah. But yeah, no, that I don't have gas really. I've got gas for EV vehicles right now, so that's another show and another channel.
That is another show and another channel. But I will say that you got to test drive the Model 3 real quick.
I test drove a brand new Model 3 with fully loaded, of course. And they literally just hand you the key and they don't tell you anything. They don't even get in the car with you. They're like, here, bring it back in 30 minutes. And I was just like, I had to tell the dude, yo, I've never driven a Tesla before. I don't know how to do this thing. And I'll tell you what, it was very impressive. It drove me most of the time.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome.
It drove me. The only thing I don't like about it, there's no turning stock.
Yes.
They're buttons. Mm. And I just can't get used to that. I kept finding. I'm sure I would get used to it if it was my car, but I just I don't know about that because I found myself reaching for it, and the wheel was kind of like this way, and so I had to go down here to hit the button. It's I don't know.
No, that's the one. I think they're even backtracking on that because the new Model Y has the turning stock again.
Yeah.
So that was I get it, but also as long as the wheel is going to be moving, you want to be able to you get used to it. But there's a lot of things that you have to get used to with the Tesla.
Well, I would have to say it was super nice, and anybody who has anything bad to say about these cars have probably never been in one, or never driven one.
Yeah, there might be some other agenda going on in those
we
conversations.
Won't get into that because you got to separate the artist from the creator, I guess you should say, or not even the creator, the person associated with it.
Yeah. In
Yeah.
fact, I saw a Purple Heart Tesla Model Y license plate, Purple Heart. Like so, you would assume that the bumper sticker said, "I love my car, not the man." And
Yeah.
separate the consumerism because I don't think any of us want to look into like what the people who own some of the things that we buy do because just some people are more public about it. Anyway, I digress. My gas this week was we went up and we did that graduation thing in Hutto. And usually every year I try to invest that money into the company. Well, I took even a little bit of a pay cut to use some of that investment money to finally buy a tripod and a head that I'm going to be happy with.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, they're all letters and numbers at a certain point. The Suri one that has the everything you can just one adjustable so it can pop up right away with one lift. That's nice. I got that for used like new on Amazon. So
a deal?
Yeah, easily like over $150 cheaper.
Yeah.
So
and I've seen the specs on that tripod. It's good. They actually had to change that tripod.
Yeah.
It was a clone of the Sockler. I'm going with Sockler. It was a clone of the Flowtech tripod, and they got mad and sued them. So they only released that tripod for a few months. There was even online reviews. Like Gerald Undone even reviewed that tripod, and it got discontinued because they got sued. But they've re-released it in the version that you've got, which instead of the little flip locks, I guess they're like little twisty locks now. But it's still like one motion. You don't have to bend over to do anything to adjust it, which is pretty cool. And it's got a good head. So
yeah, we'll have to do a review. Although that head is overkill for most of my cameras, but my FS7, if I were to ever upgrade the camcorders, I would probably get that Z200.
But think about even think about rigging stuff out. Like if you have a monitor on there, you have a zoom controller, you have a microphone. It's good. That head will be good. Everybody likes good head.
Yeah. Okay. Well done. We end on that note, don't we? All right. Yeah. No. Thank you for
I'll
talking.
show myself out.
Yeah. The FX2. So hard pass on that. Hard yes on Teslas and good tripods. Although why do good tripods have to cost so much money? That's another topic for another time. Yep. All right. Hey, thank you, LG. I've been Karl. Hey, Broadcast Squad, behind the squad.
Peace.
Hey, see y'all later.